Horror games have always been a popular genre. People love to be scared and experience their biggest fears in the comfort of their own home. But some games are more than a jump scare or emotional plot. Some games carry a curse and have caused players to have an early demise. So take this list as a warning. These are the top 5 cursed horror games you should never play. Let's jump in. Coming in at number 5, we have Rule of Rose. The Rule of Roses came out on PS2 in 2006. Rule of Roses is a survival horror game. It was set in England in 1930. You play as a 19-year-old woman who becomes trapped in a world ruled by young girls who have established their own hierarchy and rules. It is seen as a dark and twisted game. Before it was even released, it was banned in many countries due to topics it touches on. This means it was already seen as a mystery to the public and made them want to play it even more. It is said to push you psychologically as you explore an old orphanage. When the game was released, the talk around the game only grew. As the first few gamers got their hands on the new release, it appeared to not be a fun experience. This game did fly under the radar slightly as it was released on PS2 shortly after the release of the PS3, meaning many people had already moved on to their new console and were not playing new releases for the previous gen. There was a couple of deaths related to the game. It was reported that they were scared to death. Although the official report is heart attack induced by stress, these deaths could be completely coincidental. However, it does seem highly suspicious that these players were on the game at the time that they passed away. The game pushed them to such fear and stress that their heart simply gave out. Whether it is a major coincidence or the game is truly cursed, I would say that it is not worth finding out. Coming in at number 4, we have Momo. The Blue Whale / Momo game is less of a video game you start playing and more of a real-life social media game. It started in 2019, mostly in Russia. It is believed that the game was started on Facebook. There are a group of admins who use the page to give daily tasks to its members. The members are given daily tasks to complete over 50 days. It is unclear why the players keep playing. There is no clear incentive or prize that they will receive. For this reason, it is believed that those who play become cursed. This curse drives them crazy. They get paranoid, feeling like they're being followed. They believe that by finishing the game they would be saved from the curse. That once they completed the final task, they would finally be free. Unfortunately, that is not the case. On the 50th day, what seems to have happened with a number of players is that they post the blue whale on their Instagram account before taking their own life. This blue whale is the biggest indicator that they have been playing the game. The people who run the game seem to be able to manipulate the players to do whatever it is they want them to. The police were unable to get to the bottom of who was running the game. This again made people believe it may have been an entity, something that used this technology to spread its curse and seep into those people's lives to do what they need them to do, then dispose of them when they're done. There hasn't been much talk of the game in some years. The more the game was talked about and information was spread, the less people fell for playing the game. Most people these days are aware of the game, so it cannot take any more victims. If you do stumble across the game, do not join the group. It is believed once you complete the first task, there is no way out. Coming in at number 3, we have Pokemon 1996. In 1996, Pokemon created a version for portable consoles. It was the first version of Pokemon on Game Boy. Shortly after its launch, Japan had to look into some terrifying concerns. In the summer that the game was released, self-death rates between 6 to 12-year-olds shot up drastically. When looking into this, it appeared they all had one thing in common: they all owned the Pokemon game. They had all become addicted to the game, as is usually the case with such a huge launch. There was one dark location within the game that seemed to be the cause for the problem. The area name was Lavender Town, which was hidden away within the game. This town was created as the eternal resting place for the deceased. You could walk around the ghost town and visit the graveyard. It was not just visiting the town that was the problem, it was reportedly the music. The Japanese version has a terrifying soundtrack to this town, which was reportedly chilling and caused strange effects on players. Players would feel irritable, accompanied by insomnia. An investigation into the deaths was launched. They found that they all had one thing in common: their last game was saved in Pueblo Lavender. After the investigation, they had to pull the game in all the locations. They changed the music as they decided that this was most likely the cause of the disturbing events. The company who developed the game was looked into, and they had kept a list of all the children affected by the game, evidence that they knew what was going on long before it became so tragic. It would be hard to get your hands on the original version of the game, but if you do consider playing it, maybe play it on mute. In at number 2, we have Berzerk. In In 1980, Stern Electronics released the game Berzerk. It was brought on in arcade versions and for Atari 2600. The game was known to be one of the first shooter games of all time. The game was capitalizing on the hype around robots at the time. The premise of the game is to kill the robots and try to escape for the facility. If you took too long in any section, Evil Otto will come to get you. Once released, it did not take long for claims to rise that the game had killed players. It might seem unlikely, but these deaths were confirmed. The first victim was 17-year-old Jeff Daly. He was playing the game at the arcade with his friends when he spent hours on Berzerk to try and beat his top score. He finally beat it and reached 16,660 points. The minute the score went through the system, he suffered a heart attack and passed away. A few weeks later, there was an 18-year-old boy, Peter Pekowski, who had the exact same thing happen to him. Neither boys had previous health conditions. This caused a panic around the game. The media began to look into it and report on what was happening. A coroner did an autopsy on both bodies and created a report for the media on what might have happened. He said he could confirm they previously had no conditions. What he thinks happened was the stress of the game was too intense for these young boys to handle. He reported that the stress triggered a heart attack. There had been more deaths reported in relation to the game, but none have been looked into like those of the first two victims. There are no reports of the arcade or Atari versions being pulled. If you did manage to get your hands on a copy and play it today, you would have to be careful. Getting this high score is not worth your life. And finally, in at number 1, we have Taboo: The Sixth Sense. Taboo was released by Nintendo in 1989 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The game was for tarot reading. You would simply input your name and date of birth and then ask about your future. You would then receive a usual tarot reading after it draws your chosen cards. The game had a lot of symbols of religion and even nudity, things that would not get approved in a game today. They expected this game to be family friendly, that you could enjoy with everyone, but many people became disturbed by the game and what it would tell them. Parents began to feel it was not safe for their children to be playing with games like this. Particularly disturbing was the game predicting the death of a few young players. It predicted their tragic deaths at their young age. The myth is that soon after it was predicted, a number of the predictions came true. Many players took the game seriously and believed that it could in fact tell the future. The manual of the game read, "We are not responsible for what may happen when Taboo or any effect, influence or miracle that may occur in the relation to the game." The mystery of Taboo confirmed that the game announced the death of some young people, who therefore supposedly died. Nintendo did not want the talk around this game to continue. They decided to permanently remove the game from its catalog and pull it from its shelves. Of course, no matter how much they tried to bury the game, there are still copies out there and people who remember playing the game. If you do get your hands on a copy, please be careful. Once you know how you will die, there is nothing you can do to change your fate. Well, there we have it. Do you guys agree with that list? Have you ever played any of these cursed games? What's your favorite video game? Leave us all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and perhaps we're going to do part 2. And on that note, if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and until next time, I'll see you later. Players to do whatever it is they want to do. Be able to manipulate the players to do whatever it is they want them to. The police were